Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Rekha Venkateshwarlu, Assistant Professor of Physics, Government Degree College for Women, Nalgonda. In the present lecture, now I am going to discuss about the topic Gauss law applications for volume charge distribution. This is BSc Physics 5th semester Electromagnetism syllabus Unit 1. In the present lecture, now I am going to talk about the contents, introduction, volume charge distribution in the case of uniformly charged conducting sphere or spherical shell. Then after, we will discuss about the application of Gauss law in the case of uniformly charged non-conducting sphere. Then after, Gauss law application for uniformly charged conducting cylinder. Lastly, we will see the discussion of volume charge distribution for uniformly charged non-conducting cylinder. Lastly, we'll see the summary of the contents. Yes. So in the present lecture, before start of the content, I would like to recapitulate the Gauss law. Gauss law states that if the charge Q is enclosed by a closed surface, okay, then the flux coming out through this closed surface, we write it as phi E is equal closed integral E bar dot ds bar is equals to Q by epsilon naught. So the statement is the flux coming out through the closed surface is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times to the charge enclosed by that closed surface, right? So this Gauss law we are applying for volume charge distribution. In the last lecture, we have seen the discussion of application of Gauss law for linear charge distribution and surface charge distribution. So in the present lecture, we will apply this law for volume charge distribution. The first one, uniformly charged conducting sphere. Uniformly charged conducting sphere. Or spherical shell. Spherical shell. Okay. So for this, now I am drawing the figure. The charge Q is placed in the spherical shell or conducting sphere of radius capital R. Okay. Capital R. So since the conducting sphere is charged uniformly, here you should remember that the charge resides on its surface only. When a conducting body is charged, then charge resides always on its surface. This is the important point here, right? Since we considered a conducting sphere, the charge is have shown on the surface. Okay, there is no charge inside the sphere, right? Now I am considering a point P outside of the sphere, outside of the spherical shell. So I have to calculate the field strength at that point. So for that, now I am constructing the Gaussian spherical surface, which is passing through this point like this. Okay, Gaussian spherical surface where the point P lies on that surface. So this is the Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface. Just imagine that. Right, sir. Now, if you consider a small area element, that is a ds, this is a ds, the direction of area vector, small area vector, always perpendicular to that area. That is outward normal unit vector, ds bar direction like this. So what is ds bar? Ds bar is equal to ds into n cap. Okay. Due to the symmetry, here the electric field strength is always perpendicular to the surface, E bar. Electric field lines of force are always perpendicular to the surface. So therefore, at any point, the direction of field strength is perpendicular to the spherical surface. So here also, the field strength, the direction is radially outwards. If it is the positively charged, then the direction of E bar is radially outwards. If it is negative charge, if it is negatively charged, then since the electric lines of force are radially inwards and perpendicular surface, then E bar direction will be radially inwards. You remember that one. So in the figure, in the our figure, we consider the positively charged. Therefore, E bar direction shown outside. Okay, sir. So what is the angle between E bar and the DS bar? The E bar is parallel to the DS bar. Angle theta is equals to 0 degree. Right. Therefore, closed integral E bar dot DS bar is equal to closed integral E ds cos 0, that is E into ds. Okay, E into ds, theta equal to 0, cos 0, 1. The field strength on the spherical surface at every point. The field strength at every point remains constant in magnitude. Hence, you write E outside integral ds, surface integral ds. Okay. So what is the total surface area? That is E into total surface area 4 pi r square, 4 pi r square, equation 1. But according to Gauss law, closed integral E bar dot ds bar is equals to the net charge enclosed by the surface Q divided by epsilon naught, equation 2. Equating these two equations, or from equation 1 and 2, we can write E into 4 pi r square is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So from that, E is equals to E equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q by r square. This is the field strength, the electric field strength outside the point at P, which is at the distance r from the center of the spherical shell or conducting sphere. Okay, so here E inversely proportional to r square, right? Okay, now if you consider the point P on the surface, since then r is equal to capital R, then field strength, electric field strength on the surface of the conducting sphere is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by capital R square. Simply you substitute small r equal to capital R in that form. This is maximum. This is the possible maximum value. If you consider the point inside the conducting sphere or inside the spherical shell, since there is no charge inside the sphere, no charge inside the sphere, then closed integral E bar dot ds bar is equal to Q enclosed by epsilon naught, that equals to 0. From this, E is equal to 0. Okay, simply you can understand that. If there is no charge inside the conducting sphere, then will be no flux. Therefore, the electric field strength inside the conducting sphere at every point is 0, equals to 0. Hence, the flux electric field strength or flux density at the center of sphere also equals to 0. So finally, what we got, electric field strength outside is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. So this is the sphere of radius r. Now r is the outside point. R is the outside point. At this point, field strength I have written. Electric field strength inside is equals to 0. Field strength at the center is equals to 0. Electric field strength on the surface is equal 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. Regarding this, if you draw the graph between electric field strength and the distance, we can show like this. Distance taken on x-axis, the field strength on y-axis, right? This is on the surface or equal to capital R. From center to surface, there is no electric field. So from the surface, the electric field strength decreases with inversely proportional to square of the distance. So E is maximum at the surface. That maximum value 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. Okay. So this graph shows the how the electric field strength varies with the distance from the center of the conducting sphere or spherical shell. So like this, we can apply the Gauss law for finding the electric field strength outside of the spherical shell or inside on the surface of the conducting sphere or spherical shell. So now let us go for next concept, electric field strength due to a uniformly charged non-conducting sphere. Okay, right, sir. For this, I am taking this diagram. This is a uniformly charged non-conducting sphere of radius capital R. Okay, you consider the 3 points. Point P1 on the surface, the point P2 on outside of the surface, and point P3 on inside of spherical conducting sphere, inside of non-conducting sphere. Okay. Yes. So here it is very clear that OP1 is equal to capital R, OP2 is equals to small r, OP3 equal to R1 say. This is OP3 equal to R1, OP2 equal to R. Now, let us see how we are applying the Gauss law to find the electric field strength at a different points, P1, P2, P3. Right. First, consider a point outside of the sphere. That is P2. For that, just you construct the Gaussian surface which is passing through this point P2, where the point P2 is on the Gaussian surface. Since it is uniformly charged, if it is positively charged, because of the symmetry, the electric field strength is radially outwards. So here I am showing the direction E bar is like this. This is the area element ds. Then the direction of this area vector ds bar is also perpendicular to this area elemental area ds bar. Here angle between E bar and ds bar is equals to 0 degree, right? Therefore, flux through that small area element E bar dot ds bar is equal to E ds cos 0 equal to EDS. Now, let us write the total flux through this Gaussian spherical surface, outside Gaussian spherical surface. Closed integral E bar dot ds bar is equal to closed integral E ds, that equals to, since the magnitude of the field strength at every point on the spherical surface remains constant in magnitude, and it is radially outwards at any point. Okay, if it is the positively charged, E bar direction is radially outwards. If it is negatively charged, then E bar direction perpendicular to the surface inwards, radially inwards. Hence, we write it as E into closed integral ds. Closed integral ds gives what? The total surface area of this sphere, 4 pi r square. That equals to E into 4 pi r square. Equation 1. This is the total flux coming out through this Gaussian spherical surface. But now applying the Gauss law, according to Gauss law, the total flux coming out through the closed surface E bar dot ds bar is equal the charge enclosed by that surface by epsilon naught. Okay. So equating these two, E into 4 pi r square is equals to what is the charge enclosed by this spherical surface? That is Q by epsilon naught. So from this, E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. This equation represents the electric field strength outside of non-conducting sphere, that is at the point P2. So from this, it is very clear that E inversely proportional to R square. Okay. Now, if you consider the point on the surface, then E on surface is equal, since small r equal to capital R, simply you can write the expression for field strength 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. This is field strength at the surface at every point, Q by R square. Right. Now, let us consider a point inside the non-conducting sphere. Inside the non-conducting sphere is P3. So for that, to calculate the field strength at the point P3, field strength, now I am constructing the again Gaussian spherical surface like this. So this spherical surface is passing through this point, or the point P3 is on this spherical surface. From the center to the point P3, distance say R1. Okay. From the center to the point P3, distance is R. Yes, for the point locating inside the non-conducting sphere P3, there OP3 is equals to, we consider as R1. Okay. Then, so again there, applying the flux through that surface, E bar dot ds bar equals to same integral of EDS, that equals to E into closed integral ds, that equal E constant. Integral of ds is the spherical surface area of 4 pi r1 square. Okay, this is the equation sum 3. But according to Gauss law, closed integral E bar dot ds bar means what? The flux coming out through that Gaussian spherical surface is equal charge enclosed by that closed surface Q by epsilon naught. So now equating these two equations, E into 4 pi r1 square is equal to charge Q by epsilon naught. Okay. E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r1 square, or you can write 4 pi r1 square is equal 1 by epsilon naught. So where the charge Q is equal what? We have the charge density, volume charge density rho is equal to charge per unit volume, charge by the volume of that sphere 4 by 3 pi r1 cube. Okay. From this Q is equals to 4 by 3 pi r1 cube rho. Substituting that here, Q value 4 by 3 pi r1 cube rho. Okay. So here 4 cancel, pi cancel, r1 square cancel. Then E is equal to rho r1 by 3 epsilon naught. This is the expression for electric field strength at the point which is existing inside the non-conducting sphere, uniformly charged sphere. Here rho is constant. So in this, if you observe this expression, it is very clear, E proportional to R1. Okay. So with this, we can conclude that now the field strength at the surface is equal 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by capital R square. Electric field strength outside is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by small r square. Field strength at the point inside the sphere is equal 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, that is in terms of rho r1 by 3 epsilon naught. Okay. At the center, field strength at the center of non-conducting sphere, since r1 equals to 0, then this value will become 0. Electric field strength at the center of uniformly charged conducting non-conducting sphere is always equal to 0. So with this, if the graph is plotted between the field strength versus the distance of the point, taking distance on x-axis, the field strength on y-axis. At the center, the field strength is 0. Okay. As we move from center to the surface, E proportional to R1. Therefore, electric field strength linearly increases like this. This is R is equal to capital R. Here E value is maximum. Outside, as we move from surface to outside point, it is decreasing like this, E inversely proportional to R square. Okay, here E value maximum, that is constant, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by R square. So at the center, field strength is 0. As we are moving from the center to the surface, the field strength increases linearly. Here E directly proportional to R1. Then at the surface, E exists maximum value. Again, if you move further from the surface, E decreasing with the distance according to the relation E inversely proportional to square of the distance. Right. Next, let us apply the Gauss law in the case of uniformly charged conducting cylinder. So electric field strength field due to a uniformly charged conducting cylinder. Okay. So you observe this diagram. This is a uniformly charged conducting cylinder of length L. Okay. Since it is a conducting cylinder, the charge always resides on its surface. So therefore, charge exists on the curved surface. Here, the cylinder is positively charged. So I have shown the positive charge on the surface. Okay. So these two circular areas, here the direction of area vector is perpendicular to the direction of electric field strength. Hence, there will be no flux through this circular area elements. Only the flux will come out from this curved surface in this direction and in this direction. Right. If you consider a small area element here, then the direction of area vector ds bar is perpendicular to that one. So ds bar and E bar are parallel. Angle between E bar and ds bar is 0 degree. Now our intention is we have to calculate the field strength at a point P outside of the cylinder, which is at the distance from the axis of the cylinder, say R. Okay. Let P is the point which is at the distance R from the axis of the cylinder. To calculate the electric field strength by using the Gauss law, now I am constructing the cylindrical Gaussian surface like this. Okay, with the length L and the radius R. Gaussian surface length capital L, radius R. Right. So here the point P is on the curved surface. Now just imagine that here a small area element ds, then the direction of ds bar is perpendicular to that one. Electric field strength is always radially outwards due to the symmetry, whether it is spherical surface or cylindrical surface, then the direction of field strength is perpendicular to that surface always, and the magnitude of field strength remains constant at every point on the surface. So on this point, at every point field strength is constant. The direction is like this, radially outwards. Here also for the outside Gaussian surface, field strength is outside, ds bar direction outside, then ds bar e bar is parallel. Angle between e bar and ds bar is equals to 0. Hence, the flux through that area element e bar dot ds bar equal eds. Then the total flux through this curved surface, the total flux through this curved surface of the outside Gaussian surface, closed integral e bar dot ds bar, e bar dot ds bar, that equals to closed integral e ds, that equals to e constant, writing outside, integral ds, that equal to e. What is the total surface area of this cylinder? 2 pi r L, because radius r, length L. Okay, so this is equation 1. But according to Gauss law, closed integral E dot ds is equal to charge enclosed by the surface by epsilon naught. Okay, equation 2. Now from equation 1 and 2, we can write E into 2 pi r L is equal charge enclosed by that Gaussian surface, that is charge on the cylinder, Q by epsilon naught. Q by epsilon naught. Okay. E into 2 pi r L is equals to Q by epsilon naught. But here the charge density, what is that? What is the charge density? Surface charge density. Surface charge density sigma equal to charge per unit area. Charge by area of that, what is the surface area of, what is surface area of that one? Pi r square L, pi to 2 pi r L, 2 pi r L, because the actual cylinder radius capital R, length L, sigma equal to Q by 2 pi r L. Then Q is equal to sigma into 2 pi r L. Okay. Now let us substitute that value here. Q sigma into 2 pi r L. 2 pi cancel, L cancel. Therefore, E is equal to sigma r by 2 epsilon naught by epsilon, 2 epsilon naught r. Sigma capital R by 2 epsilon naught r. So this equation represents electric field strength at outside of the uniformly charged conducting sphere at the distance r from the axis of the cylinder, where sigma is charge density, capital R radius of the charged cylinder, okay, epsilon naught permittivity of free space. Right. Now the next topic is, the next subcontent of the present lecture is electric field due to a uniformly charged non-conducting cylinder. Okay. Yes. By using the Gauss law, how we are calculating the electric field strength on the surface, inside the cylinder, and outside of the cylinder. So 3 cases we will discuss here. Regarding this, I am drawing this figure. This is a uniformly charged uniformly charged non-conducting sphere of radius, what is that? Radius capital R, radius capital R. Okay. This is if it is positively charged, then charge will be charge will exist inside and outside of the cylinder. Remember that one, because it is not a conducting cylinder. Since it is a non-conducting cylinder, charge can exist inside as well as outside or on the surface will exist. Okay. So let us consider 3 points. Consider 3 points. Let us consider 3 points. One is the point P1 outside, the point P2 on the surface of the cylinder, the point P3 inside the cylinder. Here radius of the cylinder, actual radius of the cylinder is capital R. The distance of the point P1 from the axis, say that is R1, R, this is R. Distance of the point P3 from the axis of the cylinder is say R1. So first see the external point. To find the field strength at the point P, just you construct the Gaussian cylindrical surface like this. Okay, Gaussian cylindrical surface. Here the cylinder length capital L, cylinder length L, and it's a radius. Outside Gaussian surface radius, how much? That is R. Okay. If you consider the small area element on this curved surface, right? So here always the field direction, according to our previous discussion, field direction is radially outwards because it is positively charged. Suppose the cylinder is negatively charged, the field direction will be radially inwards. Therefore, if you consider any area element, surface area element on the surface, then E bar direction is perpendicular to that one, radially outwards. At the point P3 also same. Similarly, you construct the Gaussian cylindrical Gaussian surface inside that. Here the point P3 lies on this inside Gaussian cylindrical surface, on the inside Gaussian cylindrical surface. Let us see one by one. First, outside point P1, at point P1. At point P1, the area vector direction ds bar is perpendicular to this one. So here E bar parallel to ds bar, right? Then E bar dot ds bar is equals to E into ds cos 0, that equals to 0. Here you remember that at the circular surface, at the circular surface area, there will be no flux. Flux doesn't come out through this circular area, because here the area vector direction and E bar direction are perpendicular. Only the flux will come out through the curved surface. So that's why I am writing and I am discussing only at the point on the curved surface. At the point P1, for this external cylindrical Gaussian surface, here the area vector ds1 bar direction outside, field strength is radially outward, A bar and ds bar are parallel, E bar dot ds bar equal to EDS. Therefore, the total flux through this total curved surface area, closed integral E bar dot ds bar is equal closed integral E ds, that is called E constant integral of ds equal to E. The total surface area of this outside cylinder 2 pi r L. 2 pi r L. Okay, equation 1, sir. But according to Gauss law, the total flux through any closed surface E bar dot ds bar should be equal to charge enclosed by the surface by epsilon naught. That is E into 2 pi r L is equals to E into 2 pi r L is equal Q by epsilon naught. Okay. From this, E is equal 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught L Q by R. This represents the outside point of field strength. Field strength at the outside point of the cylinder. Here it is very clear that E inversely proportional to R. Next, so for the point P2 that is existing on the surface of the cylinder, since R is equal to capital R, then field strength simply we write E surface is equal 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught L Q by R. This is maximum value. Now let us discuss the field strength at the inside point. So for the point that is P3 in our previous diagram. So what is that? What is P3? This one. So here this is the cylindrical Gaussian surface. Here also area element vector direction ds bar that is parallel to the E bar. So therefore here E bar parallel to ds bar, then E bar dot ds bar equals to E ds. Therefore flux through that closed surface area, chord surface area E bar dot ds equal closed integral E ds. Closed integral E ds. That equal to how much? Closed integral E ds is equal, that equal Q by epsilon naught according to Gauss law. E into closed integral ds is equal Q enclosed by epsilon naught E into the total curved surface area 2 pi R1L, because the radius of the inner cylinder is R1. Therefore, total surface area 2 pi R1L, that equal charge Q by epsilon naught. But the volume charge density rho is equal to charge per unit volume. Charge by volume of that cylinder pi R1 square L. From this, Q equal to pi R1 square L rho. Substituting this in the above expression, E into 2 pi R1L is equal pi R1 square L rho by epsilon naught. Pi cancel, and R1 cancel, L cancel. Then E is equal rho by 2 epsilon naught R1. Okay. So from this, it is very clear E proportional to R1. Okay. If you draw the graph for this, taking distance on x-axis, the field strength on y-axis. Okay. So inside the point E proportional to R1. At the center R, if you consider the point on the axis of the cylinder, there R1 equals to 0. Therefore, the field strength is 0. As we move from axis to the surface of the cylinder, here E directly proportional to R1 increases linearly and becomes maximum at the surface. So beyond that, if you move further radially outwards, E decreases according to the relation E inversely proportional to R. So E is maximum at the surface. So like this, we can apply the Gauss law for volume charge distribution. So in the present discussion, what we discussed, first we define the Gauss law. The total electric flux coming out through any closed surface, that is E bar dot ds bar surface integral equal to 1 by epsilon naught times to the charge enclosed by that surface. Then we applied that Gauss law for volume charge distribution. The first case we have seen the field strength due to a uniformly charged conducting sphere. There we have seen three cases: the point outside of the sphere, on the surface, inside the sphere, at the center. In the case of conducting sphere, at the outside of the sphere, E inversely proportional to R square. On the surface, the field strength exists maximum. Since there exists no charge inside the conducting sphere, charge always resides on the surface of the conducting sphere. then the field strength inside of the conducting sphere at every point 0, hence the field strength at the center also equals to 0. Then after, we discussed about the field strength due to a uniformly charged non-conducting sphere. Here also we have seen three cases: field strength outside of the non-conducting sphere, on the surface, inside and the center. Outside, the same relation we got E inversely proportional to R square. But whereas inside the non-conducting sphere, at the center, field strength is always 0. As we move from center to the surface of the non-conducting sphere, the electric field strength increases linearly according to the relation E directly proportional to R1 and becomes maximum at the surface. So after that, again, E value decreases according to the relation E inversely proportional to R square. So after this, we covered the discussion of electric field strength due to a uniformly charged conducting cylinder. Here you observe that the flux doesn't come out through the circular faces, only the flux will come out through the curved surface area. Then because it is also conducting cylinder, electric field strength inside the cylinder is 0 at every point. At the surface, E value is maximum. Outside of the cylinder, E value, for that we derived the formula. After that, we covered the discussion of electric field strength due to a uniformly charged non-conducting cylinder. Here also, we discussed the three cases. We consider 3 points: outside of the cylinder, on the surface, inside the cylinder. To calculate the field strength outside and inside of the cylinder, there we have constructed the cylindrical Gaussian surface. According to that, we concluded through the graph that is shown in the figure. At the center of the cylinder, field strength is 0. As we are moving from the axis of the cylinder to the surface, the electric field strength is increasing according to the relation E directly proportional to R1 and becomes maximum at the cylinder surface. So beyond that, if you move further radially outwards, electric field strength again decreasing, that the relation E inversely proportional to R. So regarding this present discussion, you may expect the questions from this chapter. Derive the expression for electric field strength due to a uniformly charged conducting sphere. Derive the expression for electric field strength due to a uniformly charged non-conducting sphere in three cases: on the surface, inside the sphere, and outside the sphere. And also, you may expect one more question: obtain expression for electric field strength due to a uniformly charged non-conducting cylinder in the cases outside the cylinder, on the surface of the cylinder, and inside the surface of the cylinder. These three questions are very, very important for semester examinations. So, thank you.